Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. It has happened recently that repeatedly I was discussing with people and I got questions about health, physical and mental. Although you as a being, you are beyond that, beyond the physical or mental health. It's worth the trouble to make order on those levels as good as one can. Because as long as they are disturbing us, then it's very difficult to open up to that which is beyond. Ramana Maharshi, he was so totally absorbed, he could completely ignore this level. It didn't in any way disturb his capacity to connect. He was so deeply rooted in that, so he just totally ignored. He could sit in the Patala Lingam, let his body be eaten up by ants, but he was bleeding in different places. The wounds were festering to the point that sometimes somebody wanted to lift him up to take him out, to give him a bath, that he was sticking to the ground because the blood had connected to the ground and stuck him there. I mean, who has such an absorption like Ramana Maharshi? So it's worth the trouble that we give attention to these levels in order not to be obsessed with it, but in order to be capable of opening up to that which is beyond. In your being, you're whole, you're healthy, you're complete. The main emphasis is to connect with that. And I had also questions, but if we just connect with that, even if we can detach, maybe consciously experience that connection, is it not escaping the confrontation that we should give attention on that level? No. Give attention to that level as it disturbs. If you are capable of detaching, then stay with that as good as you can. And actually, that wholeness, that healing from that level will flow into the expressions, physically and mentally. You need not be afraid of somehow missing out on anything if one is not getting stuck on that level. If we can detach, if we can connect with that which is beyond, if we can experience that freedom of the limitation, physical or mental, then it's perfectly all right to connect with that. Because the more we can do that, the more of that inner wholeness, that inner beauty will flow into the manifestation. And now I'm coming to the first question. It's more a sharing than a question. It's from Lalita Devi. She herself has physical problems, and along with it comes a lot of fear. But then on top of that, she's in a situation that the people close to her, they have a lot of difficulties, and that weighs heavily on her own thing, and the fear that is there on top of that, having to deal with those around her that are not well, that have quite severe problems. We communicated recently, and then the next day she said, okay, I'm feeling better, but also the others around me were feeling better, so that made it easier for me to feel better. Then are we so dependent on the circumstances? Of course, the circumstances have an influence, but it's good to be aware that we can detach without being in a negative way indifferent. We still can connect with those who are around us. We still can help them if they are ready to get their help. And at the same time, we can detach. We can do what we feel we have to do on this external level. We can do what we can to connect ourselves with our source of health, and then connect with them. And in that way, we support them more than they are aware of. At the same time, we can also have that humility to accept, okay, the well-being of somebody else doesn't lie in my hands. I have to accept that it's lying with them, whether or not they want to connect, whether or not they really want to accept support and help, and how much they are capable to do so. We can contribute, but finally, it's lying with everybody themselves. There are so many treatments possible. There are so many therapies possible. And it has a little bit become a tendency that people run from one therapy to another, hoping they get better and better. Momentarily, it feels like, and then the search starts again. What's next? What is out there? The first and foremost important thing is that we are connecting as good as we can with that which is whole, which is healthy in ourselves, that we want to heal from what is not balanced, from what is creating problems. And then a healer may help, a therapist may help. But if that readiness of healing is not there in oneself, then that the healer can try momentarily achieve something, but still it won't last. It has to come from everyone themselves. Now, of course, Lalita Devi, fear can come. When there is a difficult situation, when we have ourselves physical problems, when we are diagnosed with something severe, it's so natural that fear is coming. Actually, what are we afraid of? In a way, the fear ultimately is always fear of death. Fear of letting go, having to let go of what we are knowing, of what we are familiar with, and then somehow being there in the empty, not knowing what then, if all that goes, what's happening then? If the fear comes, we can observe it. We can see how it is manifesting physically, energetically, and relax as good as possible. It's not a guarantee that it goes then, but at least we are not making it worse. If we resist against the fact that there is fear, if because of that we are being pulled into a state of self-pity, then the fear becomes enormous and overwhelming. So when there is fear, how can I deal with the situation? How can I deal with my own health issues? How can I, on top of that, can I deal with the situation all around? Then connect as good as you can with your essence, with that which is whole, and have confidence that ultimately nothing harmful can happen to you, nor to anybody else. On the level of manifestation, so much harm can be done, yes, but nothing can harm what you are. If you connect with that, that confidence becomes stronger. And the stronger that confidence is, the easier it is to bear when we're facing difficult situations. And now for you personally, I would recommend, as you are so naturally a devotee who sings, don't go too much into philosophy about it. When the fear is there, when the problems are overwhelming, sit down with your harmonium and start to sing. All by yourself, in your room, open your heart to the divine and pour out along with your pattern, along with your songs, pour out your heart. Give it over, the fear, the problems, the heaviness. We have the right to do so. The God is happy to take it. Don't hesitate to pour it all out to the divine and say, look, I can't handle it. Please take it. It helps for the moment. If we are more relaxed, it's easier then to get more detachment, to be capable of bringing the attention back to the essence better and relaxing that. It's very important to remember to relax. As long as we keep up attention physically, energetically, emotionally, then it's very difficult to get out of an overwhelming situation. And since it helps you to sing, I recommend you to sing whenever you feel like, whenever you can. And along with the singing, pour out your heart, to give it over, give the heaviness over. That will make it easier for you then to relax. And in that relaxation, the overwhelming problems are not more so overwhelming. Still, an uneasy situation is an uneasy situation. But if we are calm, centered, relaxed, we can face it and do whatever we feel we need to do. And as I said before, learn to accept that you can give your positive input. At the same time, we have to have that humility that we can accept that we cannot, for others, change their personal situation if they are not open for it, if there is no readiness for it. Then we can give what we can give and leave the rest in the hands of God. Okay, then Mariam has asked me a question. She's busy with psychotherapies for herself and for other people. And now she asks, how much is it useful to learn more and ever new therapies? Is it not much more useful to connect with that which is whole? That's what I have been talking about. And yes, definitely, I think that is the main importance, that we learn to connect. Now you are working with people, so there is absolutely nothing wrong using therapies that have been developed. But for what are those therapies? They are a means to help the people to connect themselves better with their own wholeness, that they can heal. Now, for yourself, I wouldn't think that it is necessary to go and to learn new things. That doesn't mean you should not, if something comes up and you feel it is very interesting, that you go for it. Just do because you are interested in it, for the joy of it, but not with the attitude, I need to learn that in order to get better. I'm sure you have already learned enough therapies, enough methods that you can connect. And after all, the methods are for that. The methods, the therapies are not healing anyone. They help yourself or those you are working with to make it easier to connect for themselves with their own wholeness and heal themselves. So since you are working with people, of course, you can stay on the level, see what is available, and if there are things, new things, of which you think they are interesting, they can be helpful, by all means, learn that, but not have the attitude I should learn more and more and more, the more different types of therapies I know, the better it is. It is not necessarily so. And also when you work with people, it's not so much the technique that you are using, the therapy that you are using that is important, but the therapist is the important aspect. And the more that the therapist is capable to connect with the essence, with their own wholeness, with their own healing capacity, the more something beautiful can flow over to the one who is worked on. So the techniques are not so important. Still, some people function better with certain techniques, some with other techniques. So if there are things coming along your way that you feel they are interesting, to do nothing wrong, to learn that too. But it's not that you have to accumulate more and more and more and more knowledge to be a better therapist. The most important part is that the therapist herself or himself is capable of connecting. And then the simplest techniques may be totally, the simplest way of connecting and dealing with a patient may be enough. Still, one can do all different kinds of therapies one has learned. Fine. If one has different possibilities and spontaneously something feels more appealing in a certain situation, fine. But at the same time, it's good to remember whether or not it's possible to do something useful with a patient is mainly dependent whether I myself as a therapist am capable of staying centered as good as I can, connected with that whole, with that holy, with that healing essence. And then in the interaction with a patient, something beautiful can happen. And of course, for oneself, it's mainly that. We can learn techniques that makes it easier to connect with that. But it's not the technique that will do the trick. It's not that we have to learn more new tricks that eventually we find the magic trick that is just healing all the levels. All this external stuff that one can learn can make it easier to do that simple thing, to bring the attention back home and be with it. If it's easier with a certain technique, with a certain kind of therapy, fine. Perfectly valid. So it's not either you connect or you do therapies. But even when you are doing therapies yourself, to heal yourself, or if you are doing therapies, using therapies, techniques with people you work with, still connect. And in your self-connecting with that essence, you make it easier for the patients to connect for themselves and heal themselves. A healer is not really healing somebody else, but is helping the other one, making it easier for the patient to heal themselves. That is the secret. Okay, and then there is Mariano, who has in the same line a question. He asked me, what is the best prayer to get healed? Or what is the best practice to heal oneself? Obviously, he had before and has again health difficulties. And then he says, or when there is physical imbalance, or also when old stuff comes up, what is the best prayer to deal with that? The best prayer or the best practice is that which comes the most natural. If one feels like connecting with divinity, as I said to Lalita Devi, by all means, connect with the divine, pour your heart out, give over your problems, give over your tensions, give over your fears. That is perfectly valid. There is not, as I said just to Mariam, there's not a magic trick how to heal. There is not a magic prayer that is the best, that which comes naturally to you. You can pick up a prayer that you have learned. You can create your own prayer, or you just can, without particular prayer, connect with that divinity. Connecting with that divinity means the same like connecting with your own essence. Bring the attention back home to the now. Be in the present. Connect with your essence as good as you can, and you can open up to that cosmic essence, to God. Whatever is easier. And it's not that if you do one thing, you can never do the other thing. You can also sometimes more just stay with that I amness. Or sometimes when you feel more naturally devotional, you connect with divinity. Some connect with God as a form. If that makes it easier, fine. But you can also just completely abstractly connect with the divine. At the same time, we can give that intent in the current, that we are healing. And this is now in answer to all the three different questions to Lalita Devi and Mariam and Mariano, and basically for everybody. Connect with the essence, with that wholeness, with that which is healing naturally. At the same time, we can reinforce it with the intent to heal, to consciously put that intent in the current. And how are we putting that intent in the current to heal? It can be done simply by reaffirming, but with the heart, not simply with the mind, that the health is increasing, getting stronger, that the balance is getting back into equilibrium. Or we can do it, as you mentioned prayer, Mariana, we can do it as a prayer. Not be in front of God like a beggar, please God, give me this, give me that, but my God, I give my problems on all the level over to you. May it please you to heal all these different problems, these different difficulties that I'm facing. Connect, that is the main importance. Connect and relax. And then in that connected, relaxed state, it's also possible on top of that to give that intent in the current to reinforce that natural capacity of healing. All right, my friends, now I leave the subject and I'm asking you, is there anybody who would like to come in and talk about whatever?
Hi, I'm Werner.
Hello, Maria.
Hi. My question is connected to this because I've been pondering quite a bit about nutrition lately.
Yes.
And I went through, in my 30s, I did a lot of different diets, tried different things, became vegetarian when I was 27, very naturally. Yes. I met a couple of vegetarians in Spain, the very first people I've ever met who were vegetarian, and got inspired. And then I started I felt no meat, no fish. So became vegetarian. And then basically my diet has been 98% vegetarian since then. And then in the 30s, I experimented with anti-candidacies because I had quite a bit of digestive problems. So different diets, used to go really radical and then just having a big
so
crisis.
you just to understand, your diets were mainly related that you wanted to heal with the diet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, but it also was my mind. It was like, in the alternative circles, there is a lot of just drop sugar, dairy is not good, all those kind of things.
Yes.
I mean, now it makes me laugh, but at that time it felt like, yes, I'm going to achieve this one. So I did a lot of that. And then when I started my current meditation practice about 7 years ago, my shaking practice, I relaxed about it.
Yes.
And I felt it was really good. Just naturally being vegetarian, sometimes a bit of fish here and there. But then what I noticed, a big change is that I developed a lot of sensitivity about food.
Yeah.
So I would start feeling like eating a lot of oranges, for example.
Yeah.
Or mix sweet with savory, which was something I never did before. And I started trusting myself, the instinct on that. And it went actually really, really well, really well. I used to have a lot of digestive problems and they got healed in a few months. It was quite remarkable. So I did that and carried on now, not bothering about protein, carbohydrates, the mix, balance, that kind of thinking. I dropped it. And basically, I've been eating very little protein by normal standards for years now.
Mm-hmm.
But now I feel again, it feels as if it's been years of detox, a lot of detox. And now I feel again the call to be a bit more, I don't know, rational about it. So it's like, okay, why not to eat some more pulses? And I've been reading about, Swami Sivananda mentions quite a bit nutrition. And for instance, he's one of the yogis that says, no, don't eat onion and garlic. Seems to be two big ones not to eat. And he talks about sattvic foods that help the meditation, because now what I'm trying obviously is to do what you were talking at the beginning of the satsang, is to keep my body in a good state to facilitate the process of meditation and to take care at the fundamental level. So I was wondering, what is your experience with this? For instance, this thing about sattvic foods. Did you, at some point, have you got experience of stopping, for instance, the onion and the garlic? That seems to be a big one for some of the yogis. What about dairy? That kind of thing. Could you comment on that, please?
Right. So we cannot pick up one theory, one teaching, and then that is valid for everybody, because bodies are definitely different. And what is really working well for one does not necessarily work well for another. So I think what you did after your extreme dieting period was perfect, that you learn to feel for yourself what is good. Now, if it comes naturally that you feel you could also be a bit more rational about it, then there is nothing wrong. It's not that they are contradicting themselves. So if you, because you read this is very good, if you feel like trying certain things, then do so, but use your capacity that you have developed, that you feel for yourself whether it is really good for you. Because even if those pulses are good for many people, then feel for yourself whether it's the same for yourself. You can get inspired from all the teachings that you get, but then ultimately you have to be the judge for everything. So some people don't support dairy products at all. It has never disturbed me in the least. I'm still eating dairy products. Yes, I've been brought up physically like this, and so I'm not avoiding that. I never also avoided completely the onions, garlic by circumstances, because Sudha doesn't can't bear it. Somehow it doesn't agree with her body, so naturally we are avoiding it in our diet, and we are not using excessive onions. I think all these teachings of sattvic food, it's more like if you eat certain things in excess, then it's really disturbing. If you eat in reasonable measures, then usually it doesn't do any harm. Some people are very sensitive about certain things, and then it's better they avoid it. Or then there may be allergies, then they have to avoid it. But if you are naturally quite healthy, then you need not be afraid of every little thing that may not be so good and disturb you. Then you eat as you feel like, basically. And if you get inspiration from some teacher about something, then you can check it out for yourself, but then listen to your body. That is really the one who tells you what is good for it and what is not good for it.
Yeah. You see, for example, with the onion, I feel fairly neutral. I don't particularly like it or dislike it. I'm used to cooking like that. In Spain, we tend to use cook.
You know the Ayurveda and the Siddha medicine, they praise the onions, how healthy it is.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And with the garlic in the anti-candidiasis diet, which is when you have too much the sugar in the intestine, the garlic is critical. No,
when teachers like Shivananda say to avoid it to their disciples, they are usually brahmacharis. They want to lead a celibate life, and then excessive foods that are rajasic, they make it more difficult. Like excessive garlic and onions, they create more difficulties on that level.
I see, you see, I haven't thought about that one. Because with garlic is different. Garlic, I feel my stomach goes acidic when I have the garlic, but at the same time, my mind thinks it's like perhaps it needs it in order to heal, and then is when, I mean, so because sometimes we have to experience discomfort in order to get well.
That can be true, but then really listen more to what your body tells you than what your mind tells you about that.
Okay. So my body says, tiny bit of garlic.
Then it's fine. Then I would listen to that and not speculate. But maybe in order to overcome something, I have to push the garlic. No,
yeah,
listen to your body. And then if we are listening to the body, then after that, the body doesn't disturb and we can forget about that level. But if we, with our mind, think, I should do this, I should do that, then we have the tendency to get a bit stuck on that level instead of getting that level in order that we can go beyond it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's going back to the feeling, trusting oneself. Yeah.
Yes, nothing wrong picking up an idea, but then you check it and then feel.
Yeah.
And then you know the answer yourself about the things. Right.
I had a remarkable experience when we started with COVID and the lockdown started and couldn't have social life as usual. I felt at that time the highest level of sensitivity in my body about food.
Yeah.
It was like I remember with the rice cakes, I knew that I at that point in time I should not have rice cakes that were producing mucus. It was like a time where there was so much inward attention that it was very interesting. But now it's a lot more busyness, so it's like that's always the challenge to quieten down enough to be able to listen to oneself. Yeah.
Right. Then, of course, it's easier if you're less busy, but it's also possible that in times where you are physically not much active, that the body asks for other type of food than when you are physically much active. That is also possible.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Werner.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Hariom.
Hariom. Is there anybody else who would like to come? You're welcome. Hello, Nelly. I see your name, but not your face. I think you have the camera off. Ah, there you are. Hello.
Hello, Werner. I see these days that I got into the trap of my mind. I see my mistrust and intrusive thoughts. So I see that these things get different objects to stick to them. One of them is the death of my mother. I see that when it happened, I felt enough calmness inside and acceptance of what happened, that really she doesn't die, she just go to another world and something like this. But some days ago, I had some doubts. Is she really okay there? Is she really good? And these thoughts I found in myself, and they go round and round in my head.
Yes.
I found that I just something like mistrust to this divinity, that everything happens according to its will. But I see that I found that I just could watch this in myself and couldn't do anything with this. And then another situation happened yesterday with my daughter. She asked me to fulfill her request, and I felt that it's not reasonable, and I saw how it is difficult for me to refuse to do this.
Yeah.
But I tried to say it very gentle and kindly, and she finally, I see that, accepted this. And then I offered her something else, but still in my head this goes rounds that physically I could do this, but I didn't want. And inside I understand that this was reasonable to refuse. But I don't know, this just I have some doubts inside, and they really take my energy. Today I sat in meditation and tried to, it was very, let's say, I always was in my head and my thoughts.
Yeah.
It's yes, it's really very difficult. And after that, I see that the situation doesn't worry me, but still something, I don't know, like this habit to worry about something. Something is going and going.
Right. At least you're aware of it. It's not that it's just turning round and round and you're not even aware of it. You're aware of it and you don't exactly like it. So it's not that habit of doing that is getting stronger again. But like your mother's death, then at the moment you were capable, in the intensity of the situation, you were capable to connect very well and remain calm and confident. But then, of course, so as it sinks in the psyche, it may bring up a lot of emotions, energies, things that are connected with the story you had a lifelong with your mother. And then it brings up old reactions, how to think, how to feel, how to act. So don't worry when this happens. Don't think that you did something wrong, that it happens, but don't believe in it. Don't start to believe in it. Even if the doubt comes and turns your thoughts and emotions around, then in a way, step out of it. Like sitting on the bank of a river and you just watch the water go by. So let the emotions and the thoughts do their thing, but don't believe in the doubt. Deep down in your heart, you know perfectly well that your doubts are in no way helpful, neither to you, not to your mother. What exactly is happening with her, you cannot know. I'm sure she's better off where she is than when she was here in a not healthy body. But you don't have to try to figure out what really is going on with her now. She is gone. She's in another sphere, in something totally different. When that worry comes, then you can come back to just connect and send nice thoughts, nice feelings, and detach. And if the doubt is there, yeah, is it right, is it wrong, or what is happening? When worry wants to come, then you just watch it until you don't buy into it. And you are now so aware that it is there, you can do it. That there's just that tiny voice in the mind that says, but I should worry and I should think like this, as if it was our duty to worry about somebody, which is complete nonsense. But somehow it's some belief that has been brought in our mind and we hooked into that and strengthened it, that to be a good person, that means we have to worry about others. But with worrying about them, we are just hurting ourselves and them also. So when the doubt comes, then you see the doubt and don't buy into it, watch it, and then it goes away by itself. It's only when we start to hold on to its sticking and getting stronger. And the same thing with your daughter, you were sure that something she asked was no good. And actually, for this time at least, by talking to her, she could understand and she could accept, yes, you're right. So then after that, it's just also out of old habit, did I do the right thing? Shouldn't I have done maybe the other thing and fulfill the wish of my daughter that she would be happy and stuff? Don't buy into it. Don't even start to believe it. For the way you described it, without a doubt, actually, that you saw what was there was not for the good of her. So that was clear for you. That's no good to support it, to help, but rather redirect her attention in a more wholesome way. And you did that, but then just that the old personality comes in, but maybe she's not happy with me now, and so just don't buy into it. You see it, out of old habit, this comes, but it can be there. I watch it, it's there for some time, I let it go. Trust what comes to you so clear as it has come in that situation with your daughter. And then even if she doesn't like it so much, how you are dealing with the situation, how you are reacting, then that's her problem. It's good that you don't support and don't help things of which you think they are not good, even if the other person is not too happy about it. You do that which you feel is right. And that's what you did in this situation. It's just after that, but maybe she's not happy about it.
Yes, thank you very much, Werner. Yes, I saw it in myself that when I said her my opinion and she didn't answer me, I found in myself that I waiting for her answer, that what she say, and I would like she to accept it and to say okay or something like this. And I felt my reaction that I was waiting, and I understand that I can't control anyone's reactions and how they accept or don't accept what I say. I understand it, but I saw yesterday how difficult it is to attach from it,
Yes.
from these waitings. Yes, and
To detach.
just
to detach.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, to detach from this.
Yeah.
Because I really can't control it, and it's really not my sphere of doing.
Right, you can't control the reaction of your daughter, and you should not try to control the reaction of your daughter. You can give what you think is wholesome to her, and then the reaction is absolutely, totally up to her.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sometimes I feel this difficulty to choose right decision, and feel doubts in my head, and something tells me do like this, you may do it, something tells no. And I remember what other people say in these cases, and and of course I hear both sides, and they are opposite opinions.
Yeah.
And I had these difficulties yesterday, and finally I found something that I should choose this. And when I made the decision, but the other side began go on to tell me that maybe I can fulfill. So I see, yes, this happens in me. Yeah.
This comes often in any life decision, that maybe spontaneously a deep knowledge is there. This is the right way, and then it's clear. But many times there are doubts. Should I do this? Should I do that? And then one is listening to this opinion and that opinion. And then if the situation is such that it doesn't immediately need a decision, one can also let it stand and hang there, and then eventually it's coming by itself. How to deal with it. But sometimes we have to take decisions about things now. And if there is not that clear direction coming from deep within, then there is nothing wrong to be rational about it. And think, well, does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Is it doing harm? Is it not doing harm? And then choose that which we feel is the best, that which at the same time makes the most amount of sense. And then once you decide, then go for it. And then, of course, out of habit, the mind may come, maybe I should have done the other thing. Maybe it was not a good decision. maybe. And then when you see that, then don't buy into it. Stick with your decision that you have done it with the best of your intention. And if we then start to give in to that nagging, maybe I should have done the other thing, there, as you said, it eats your energy. It's like a whirlpool that sucks the energy out of you. So see it when the doubt comes, but don't take it serious. No, I made my decision like this. It can happen sometimes in our life decisions that later down the road we come to the conclusion, okay, my decision was not such a fortunate one. So what? You made it with the best intention, and then it brought things that maybe you needed to experience, and you are richer for the experience, and there's nothing wrong. So before you decide, you can a bit listen this way, that way, and feel it out and rationalize it out, both, but then decide and go. And then when the doubt comes, then you don't give way to it. You don't buy into it. Okay, I made my decision. When the doubt comes, you see the mind, you see the doubt, you watch it, you don't give it power. And then it comes, stays maybe for some time, and it goes, and it doesn't eat your energy away.
Okay. Thank you, Werner. Thank you very much.
You're
it was
welcome.
very helpful to hear this. Yes.
You're
Hari
welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello. I guess it's Leora, huh?
I'm in the forest today here. Can you hear me?
Yes, there are gaps, but I think I can. Yeah, your connection is not very good. The picture also is jumping from one frame to another. But
Okay,
let's
try.
let's try.
Okay. So everything was connected today somehow, the questions and the answers. And yesterday something happened in my family, and then I spoke to my ex-husband. He was there. And I didn't want to use the word connected, because in Hebrew, if you say when you're not connected, like disconnected, for some people in Hebrew it sounds like that you are in a bad way disconnected. Like,
yeah,
when we say connected, like you said just now to Nelly, connected to deep wisdom, you said something like that. Knowledge, to deep knowledge. So, but I didn't want to use the word connected because it's very difficult to say, maybe to another person. If you say, I'm connected to a deep knowledge, or to myself, to the divine being, but actually maybe they experience it as that I'm detached, that I'm detached in a negative way.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I also wanted to ask about explaining the unexplainable, or
that's good.
yeah, and people brought up today issues about different techniques, about diets, and about also communication with ourselves or with the other person. So somehow I feel what I'm bringing up is all connected. When I communicated last night with him, and I wanted to convey it was very unpleasant, something that happened there, which he was connected to, as I said, that he acted out, but I didn't want to go down on him or to make him feel guilty more than he felt anyway.
Yeah.
So I was looking all the time for the exact words and the exact way of how to keep on, to have this conversation so it will make something better, also for him and also for the all involved. Of course, it took some energy from me. Everything took energy from me. But I felt I was doing good. I was doing good because I was giving examples from myself, how I deal in situations when everything around me is very tense and people are unhappy and it's like confusing, and then how I, as I say, connect to the deep knowledge or connect to the divine being or concentrate, and then I'm somehow not influenced, or I'm less influenced, even though I can feel the energies and so on. So this is all somehow maybe beyond techniques and also beyond, yeah, and also, as I said, to explain the unexplainable.
Right.
Yeah.
If that word, the translation of connect, doesn't work in Hebrew, there may be something like that you use opening up instead of connecting, that you open to wisdom,
Okay.
that you open up to the divine. And then it won't be misunderstood.
Okay.
Right. And of course, the unexplainable obviously cannot be explained all, and it's good when you talk about it that you make it clear that after all it cannot be explained, but at the same time we can give pointers to look in the right directions. That is what we can do. You cannot even, you need not even try to attempt to explain the unexplainable. You can explain the process, how we can, what I usually would say, connect, but then if that doesn't work, you just call it open up to the divine. But to start to explain the divine, then that doesn't help anything. The religions do it and leave people with a lot of dogma and very limited ideas about divinity. And so it's better, instead of trying to put more ideas on that, to help them to get rid of all the ideas they have accumulated by their traditions. And be open for that mystery that is simply beyond any grasp.
Yeah, I've been feeling more and more about what we are doing with you. I can't even say any longer than that you're teaching us. It's I don't know what the word, what you're sharing with us, maybe I would say, with such generosity.
Whatever we call it, doesn't matter.
Does matter. I'll tell you, 2 weeks ago, the cat of my son was run out by a car, run down by a car. And then he called me and he said, if I can help me with my wisdom from the Buddhism. And then I told him, I was no longer a Buddhist, actually.
Yeah.
Never was. I told him I never was, but still, if I thought I was a little bit or something, and I now feel that I'm no longer a Buddhist, and and then I was like, so I think of what we are getting from you, or sharing, I don't know, whatever, but what you told before about Ramana, it's really so far from any technique.
Yeah.
And I know you said many times that Ramana was something like unique being, but still, many of us now, I feel for myself, I can so much better deal with very difficult events.
Yeah.
Or, pains, or like medical stuff or emotional stuff. And of course it's due to the satsang and to whatever you share with us. But it has no definition.
Right, it may has helped, but actually it's due to your long years of opening up to go deeper. Sometimes the satsangs may clarify things and help in that process, but it's not because of the satsangs, but because of all the work that you did also.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, now my heart was touched, and yeah, some tears in my eyes. So appreciate, and thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all.
We leave it. We leave it at that for today.
Yeah.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. Since we have been talking about teachings, about religion, or about the satsang, so what we are doing here, what I am trying to do here, is not to push again some kind of other dogma down anybody's throat, but help everyone to open up to their own source of wisdom, free from unnecessarily dogmatic restrictions. That's how we can grow. All these religious stuff may have been helpful for a long time, but then often it is time that one lets go of all the unnecessary ballast that comes along with it and keep the essence of the religion. That's good for oneself, and that's good when we are in a group and when there is teaching, that we are not trying to force ideas one on the other, but that we can help with our own experience others to be more conscious about their experience, and with their own experience, with their own consciousness, go deeper into their own resources. So that's what I'm trying to do, and not to force some other teaching that has another name on anybody. If that happens, if that functions, sometimes I'm very happy about it. All right, I saw that the dial you tried to come in, and then because I was again blubbering away, you were stopped again. Please come in. You are still muted. I can't hear you. Or something with the microphone doesn't work. I see your mouth is moving in a little picture, but somehow no sound is coming.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Hello, Dial.
For many years, I was reading only spiritual books and
Yeah.
see only spiritual books. Then I understand the practices. I get more time for classic literature. First,
It's getting, sorry, Dial, it's getting a bit difficult. There are such gaps. The connection is not fantastic. I don't know whether on my side or your side. If you, I think if you are nearer, also we can hear better. Try again. So for many years you have read only spiritual books. Now you are not doing that so much.
and I started reading some classical literature, and I see some deep insight for me.
Sorry, it doesn't work. Most of the things I don't hear that you are saying. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now I
Now
hear.
is it better?
Yes, now I hear.
So I will try again. Okay. So and also I start to see the movies, feature films.
Yeah.
And some of them really bullshit, but some of them have also some deep ideas, some deep emotions can transmit.
Yes.
And I can compare it with a situation which life is giving to us for life experience. It's needed for our mind, for our souls. Does it same experience with the life situation, with the movie, with the films, and with the literature? Can we put it on the same level, or it's still a little bit superficial?
No, it's not the same, because your story is your story and has its own depth and value. but even when your friend tells his story, it's also not the same like your own story. But at the same time, there's absolutely nothing wrong that you are, if you feel like reading other things and seeing movies, and actually we can get pointers suddenly from anywhere. If you watch a movie, if you read a story, suddenly there is something that comes through, whether it was intended by those who made the story or not, but for you something may come through that suddenly is catching your attention and makes some click and some opening. It's totally possible. Yeah.
Also, there is idea when we like some movie or some literature, we start identified with the person, with the hero in this movie. But all the spiritualities means they identified with our life, with our situation, and of course not identified with the story which somebody just imagined.
Yeah, but even if you identify a little bit, it's not serious, you know, you just, the emotions may be there, you make a connection with that imaginary character, but it's not like a binding identification like with that personality we believe to be. So this is, if you do that in a playful way, it's harmless, don't worry.
Okay, Werner. So I asking because I even start to see sometimes soap opera means a movie which very long,
Yeah,
like for a few hours. So sometimes there is some deep ideas, but most of time it's wasting time, of course, just entertainment. That's why I'm asking it.
yeah. Don't have a bad conscience if you have some time in your life where you just entertaining yourself. As long as it doesn't become an obsession, as long as it doesn't become a need that you need that, then there's no harm in it. Huh? And you can learn.
Okay, thank you.
And you can learn to watch a movie, and also even while watching the movie, remind yourself to be conscious and to observe how your emotions are reacting to the story, what it is going on, that simultaneously you entertain yourself with that story, and at the same time you watch what it is doing to your experience right now. And then even watching the movie becomes practice.
Okay, thank you, Werner. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Andreas.
What's the right balance between entertainment and practice?
What's the right balance? That is something that you have to figure out for yourself. The right balance is that if you feel right with it, if you feel at ease with it, if you basically live in a way, but then after that, most of the time you live with a bad conscience, then maybe some adjustment has to be done. But if you are fine, but then somebody says to you, "Hey, but how you spending your life? That's no good." Then never mind about it. You have to feel fine about how you are spending your time. And as I said to Dial just now, the more you live consciously, the more everything becomes practice, even the so-called entertainment.
Yeah, but I have two difficult tendencies. The one is about laziness or liking comfort and security. And the other one that is contradicting that one is I can be very harsh on myself and really push myself. So I did that in the beginning of my practice and ended up with some kind of depression or like physical illnesses.
Yeah.
So I'm still struggling for the right balance when I have I'm not right now. I think sometimes I'm too much on the entertainment side and taking everything easy.
I see. Yeah. So if you feel like that, then you can a bit experiment by manifesting a little more discipline and observe whether it feels right. The first, then make the step is a bit difficult. Once you start, it's getting easier. But then don't go into the thing that you described from your earlier practice day, that you push yourself hard, that you get frustrated about it. But you experiment by sometimes thinking, okay, I could develop again, manifest again a bit more discipline. and then start with a little step. Don't think that you should now make a very strict discipline program. You're anyhow not going to do it. But then if you feel, okay, I could reduce a little bit the entertainment part and increase a little bit the practice part, and try and see how it feels.
Okay.
Yes. Not going from extreme to extreme, but gently.
Yeah. I have to watch that I don't get too much in my head. Like if I'm practicing and if it's going good, then I'm in the now. But sometimes if I push myself into practice, then I'm just getting into daydreaming, and a lot of times then it's difficult to get out of. Somehow there's a negative tendency in it that doesn't is very helpful.
Yes, right. But actually, just be honest with yourself. Just be as honest as you can with yourself. Then deep down in your heart, you know where is the balance. You find out. You may not know, but you experiment and you figure out. If you are honest with yourself, then you feel in a situation whether it's right or wrong, and then the mind may make arguments against that feeling. That but like this, but like that. But in your heart, in a way, if you are honest, you feel what is right. Learn to listen more to that than to the mind, and then you are getting the right balance.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago, I had a week of holidays and I wanted to do a self-retreat, but it didn't work so well, but it was okay mainly. And I started also to read a lot about psychology, like about psychoanalysis, and a lot of things came clear to me, but it wasn't all good, because some of the things put me down in a way, because I realized a lot of stuff that happened in my childhood or was kind of, and the whole thing had a very negative tone, because it was always about problems and problematic relationships with my mother and father. And I think the problem was that it's all in my head and I couldn't do any real healing in my heart. But still, it felt kind of helpful to learn this in a way. I don't know really how to deal with it. Like if I read it, it's just in my head and the negativity stays. And to really heal it is a totally different thing, but it's sometimes very difficult to make the step, especially by myself.
Right. The understanding is certainly an opening helpful. But then if there are, like you described, understandings about mechanisms that you read about, then stories come up from your past. And then instead of trying to simply with analyzing and on that level to deal with it, then let them come up and just observe what the memory is doing to you right now. Let the emotions come up and observe physically instead of analyzing. Observe physically what are these memories that come up doing to you right now. How the emotions again manifesting and what they are doing to you physically, energetically. And the more you observe it like that, the more old charges that are there are being released.
Yeah, a lot of times I start to realize things that, I mean, then it's a certain picture, yeah, of my, like how neurotic my mother was, for example, and how that affected me. And yeah, there's maybe sadness coming up. That's right. I should maybe focus more on that. Okay.
Yes, and also even when you think about then the situations with your mother, then your old reactions will come up. Your annoyance, your whatever came, you will see there are all kinds of emotions, not only sadness will come. Sometimes anger, sometimes aversion, sometimes whatever. Sometimes pity maybe. Let it come up and see how it is manifested. And in that way, old charges that still have been locked in the subconscious have a chance to come up and then be released instead of being carried on and on as a dead weight.
Yeah, in that week, I had a lot of like physical pain. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah.
But more than usual. And,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the hard thing is that when I do this kind of things, I end up having a very negative picture of myself instead of focusing on my positive attitudes and abilities.
Then see that this also a picture. It's an image. It's not what you are. Okay, now I'm putting again a negative image. And when you watch that image, then again, emotions come along with it. Not necessarily very nice emotions. Then you let them come. And make yourself clear, okay, this is not what I am. This is my self-image. This is just a picture I have. And see how holding on to the picture is influencing your experience right now. And there you can relax. And then the image also, as the old stuff, also the present image that we are holding on to loses more and more its power.
Okay.
Okay, shall we leave it like that?
Yes, thank you very much.
You are welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. All right, my friends. I think for today, we have talked enough. I wish you all well on all the levels. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.